Hello everybody, this is the two-ish week review of the Kershaw Parley and the QSP Hedgehog. So I've been using these both at work fairly regularly, and the first one I tried was the Hedgehog, and there were a few issues. The biggest problem is the blade profile. Now, if you remember, or if you saw the first video, this is basically a straight razor. And it's a very, very fine edge, concave on both sides, I believe. Yeah, concave on both sides to actually quite a thick spine. Now, I was using this to try and cut through some cardboard for packing. And the problem was, as it passed through the cardboard, it got caught on the spine and it would end up ripping and tearing and pulling, and it just wasn't the kind of finish that you want, especially if this is going to be used in something that's being sent to customers. So that was a real surprise for me. The other real surprise was that the edge turned out to be so fine that simply by cutting cardboard, we ended up with some rolls along the edge. So when cutting long strips of paper for packing material, it would snag and rip and tear it. And that was the first day. I was very surprised about that. I tried it on the leather that I use, and it's fine. If you were to hold up leather like this and just push through it, it will cut. You're still going to get the same problem of the thick spine pushing against it. But if you try to cut it flat on a surface, the blade profile simply doesn't work for that, because you've got this completely straight edge. And that means that when you are cutting through the leather, it doesn't want to glide through like a curved edge would. And it's fine, it will do it. It just won't do it as well as a lot of others. In terms of build quality, the handle is still absolutely rock solid. There is no movement whatsoever in the blade where it attaches. The spring and the double stop, thank you to the commenter in the first video, are still absolutely rock solid, and to be honest with you, one of the favorites of mine of any knife. I absolutely love that. It just screams quality. The question is, if this isn't very good for cardboard, if I can't really use it for leather, if the blade is so fine it ends up getting a roll on simple things like that and then tearing paper, what's it for? Maybe pruning. I feel like the profile is not really going to be great for that. To be honest with you, I have a feeling like this would be very, very good for dried meats like biltong. So this may well go towards being my biltong knife. Yeah, I don't really know what it's for. It's a nice knife, it's very sharp. The fineness of the profile is a real issue. So it simply won't stand up to, I wouldn't even call it heavy use, medium use. It's not really made for it. I've not tried sharpening this yet. To be honest with you, because of the thinness of the blade, I suspect that what you'd really want with this is pretty much just a leather strop. I'm not sure anything else is going to give you a great finish on that, short of a very, very fine grade stone. And for just a cheap pocket carry, I don't want to be wasting my time doing that. So, might be able to use a kitchen steel on it, but I think a strop is probably going to be the way forwards. Still a beautiful knife, not really much good for work, will probably be relegated or promoted, depending on your perspective, to cutting dried meats. So that is the QSP Hedgehog. Still a lovely knife, not really what I'm looking for in an everyday carry, because it's not up to everyday tasks. Now, the Kershaw Parley. I still hate the resistance on that. It's too soft. It's softer than even the tiny little cheap Marbles bone-handled one that I've reviewed in another video. Kershaw need to fix that, to my mind. That needs dealing with. Now, the blade profile itself lends itself much more to cutting. It's very, very good for leather. I found that if I made the first line as sort of a guide, I could then follow it very, very well, especially with sort of a sawing action against the edge of my table. So that was quite good. I haven't cut myself. It hasn't closed on me at all, which is good, despite the weakness of the spring there. What surprised me a little bit with this, considering the cost of a full price knife, the edge retention isn't great. Again, I've not tried to sharpen this yet, so I don't know how well it will take an edge, how well it will sharpen. And I'm not expecting the world from budget knives like these. But when I say the edge retention isn't great, I compare that to other budget knives that seem to do a much better job at it. The feel of the handle, it's fine. I didn't take the corners off of this at all because it simply didn't need it. If you remember in my first video, I pointed out that the edges here were quite sharp. It's not an issue at all. The blade does move a little bit in the hinge here. Very, very small. I'm not going to force it. There's no need. It's fine. One thing that surprised me, especially considering the shape of the edge, wasn't very good at cutting thread. When I'm there trying to stitch my leather together, I'll pull out a big piece of thread, fold it over, and just try to cut it. A number of times, this snagged and pulled and left a very tatty end in ways that other knives just wouldn't do. And that's surprising. There are a number of glints and rolls along the edge here already from something. Again, I've not tried to sharpen this. I will give it a go with the steel, but it's good. It's good for cutting the leather. The niggles that I mentioned with the stiffness of the blade are not enough to be a deal breaker. It's fine. It's not a bad knife. At this point, I wouldn't rate either of them in terms of functionality over my Svord Mini Peasant. I might actually have that in my pocket now. Yeah. The Svord Mini Peasant, I will go through a proper review of this at some point, but this just beats them in every regard so far, and a fraction of the price. Even the edge retention on this seems to be superior. Don't know what that was. So yeah, the fact that this 20-odd pound knife is better than, to my mind, is better than blades 2-3 times the price, that speaks volumes to both. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to mention. So there we are. The Kershaw Parley and the QSP Hedgehog. Lovely little knives. Maybe not the best for everyday carry, because they don't necessarily meet everyday needs. So that's my 2 worth. I hope it helps, and we will see how we go with future reviews. Thank you.